So one way to merge is to rebase. Okay, so when you rebase, you take the commit that you have and put it on top of somebody else's commit, right? So in other words, you pretend that your changes to the verse were happening after somebody else did all of these changes. That's rebase. And the advantage of that is that it creates linear history, right? After you're done with rebase, you can delete your branch and as though the branch never existed, right? So as though it looked like two people who worked at the same time, it looks as though they worked in sequence, right? And people, of course, in the development team cannot work in sequence because the project will take forever, right? So that creates the illusion of working in a sequence when actually we didn't. Okay, so the disadvantage of that is that if you, on your branch, created the working code and you tested it, you will, after you delete your original branch, not be able to figure out exactly, how to reproduce the results, right? So because essentially you tested your code, but your code that you have works in a certain way on top of the previous version of the code. So now you took your changes, right, and you apply them on top of somebody else's changes. But on top of somebody else's changes, your code may not work the same way as it worked on top of what you started from. So if you already tested, essentially your version that was tested and worked is gone, right? So well, gone after you delete the original branch, or it's on some side branch that's not really, part of the development. So you will not be able to determine, like, did it really work? Was it broken when you rebased? Or was it actually never working to start with, right? So that's one of the disadvantages of rebase. The advantage is that history is linear and the branch, beautiful, branch never exists. Okay, so other way is to do a merge commit, right? So with a merge commit, you will preserve the original code based on what it started from with the test, right? And you will preserve the first set of changes on the develop branch. Well, in a lot of workflow practices, you don't want to do it on develop, right? You want to basically have two branches and then merge both on develop. But it doesn't matter. We're just talking about two branches. So the advantage of that, you preserve your tested code on one branch, tested code on the other branch. When you merge, then you have the merge branch, right? And then you can say, well, the first test worked, still good, right? Second test worked, still good, right? So this, you have both previous ones and a new one. But if you ever have to undo something, right, you have to undo. Then it becomes very messy because you have essentially branches that diverge and merge together like a river, right, around the island. And if the commit that's causing a problem that you're trying to undo is earlier, then there's not a single obvious way of how to undo it properly because you don't have a linear history. You cannot just say, well, take out this commit, leave the rest, right? Or even, go back to a single set of code, right? So that's a disadvantage. And the final third way is cherry pick, right? Where you go from branch one commit by another commit, and cherry pick means that you're taking these commits one by one. So cherry pick sometimes is considered the same thing as rebase because rebase is just a sequence of cherry picks all done at once. Every manager, every development organization has its own set of preferred practices. And, I am saying what I believe are the right practices. So I believe that the right practices are when you already tested, you should merge, right? So there is a merge commit because then you're preserving what you already tested. And when you did not yet test your new code and you would like to test it on the main branch, then you can either rebase or cherry pick.